The first rev cracked the evening like a whip. Outside Harper's diner, cups rattled on saucers and 40 heads turned at once. A candy-red sports car nosed across the handicap stripes, its grill inches from an elderly couple inching between parking spots with a paper bag and a metal cane. The driver, a rich kid with a watch that didn't need to be that shiny, grinned at his phone, thumb hovering over Go Live. He blipped the throttle again. The car lunged a hair forward. The elderly man froze. The woman's hand flew to his sleeve. Asphalt swallowed the room's noises whole. "Move," the kid mouthed through the glass, smiling for his viewers. Obstacles. We didn't rush him. 40 bikers shifted as one, a quiet wall forming across the lot. Helmets tilted, red record lights winked on. Jax, our road captain, lifted 2 fingers without looking at us. Witness, don't escalate. The old man, trim, neatly shaven, brim of his cap pulled low, lifted his chin. "Easy," he said to the driver, voice steady. "We're crossing." The kid rolled down the window an inch. "Then cross faster," he said, amusement dripping. He blipped the engine again, harder, an animal sound bouncing off chrome and glass. The woman flinched, but she didn't step back. She squeezed her husband's arm and guided him one careful foot forward. Inside the diner, the griddle hissed. A waitress went still with a coffee pot in her hand. A teenager at the counter raised his phone and whispered, "Is he seriously doing this?" Jack stepped just close enough to be counted. "Back it up," he said to the kid, calm and flat. "You're crowding them." The driver tilted his phone to get Jack's and the couple in the same frame. "Look at this," he told the internet. Biker Brigade meets senior speed bumps. The old man didn't rise to it. He touched the woman's wrist, an old practice signal, and took the next step. His cane clicked once. The kid revved again. The nose dipped. The paper bag crinkled. I caught the woman's eye. It was the kind of eye that's seen a lot and forgiven more. She mouthed, "We're okay," but her breath said otherwise. "Sir," Jax repeated, "put it in park." "Relax," the kid said. "I'm not touching them." He leaned his elbow on the window, savoring the power of proximity. "Just teaching them urgency." A bus exhaled at the corner. Far off, a siren wound down. The lot held its breath. The old man, later I'd learn his name was Elias, looked straight into the young man's lens. "Respect is a break," he said, as if reciting something he'd told 1,000 students. He took another measured step, drawing the woman, Rosa, into the small safety of his posture. The kid's smile thinned. "Grandpa brought a proverb," he muttered, flicking the throttle once more. The cars had dipped so close the reflection of Rosa's hand broke on the paint like water. That was when the line changed. Not a rush, not a threat, just 40 pairs of boots taking one synchronized half-step forward, 40 cameras raising a few inches higher, a row of bikes glinting like quiet witnesses under neon. The diner door opened. The manager stuck his head out, eyes flicking between the grill and the cane. "Everything. Record," Jack said without turning. The manager lifted his phone. A woman in hospital scrubs stopped at the edge of the lot, eyes hard. "Back it up," she told the driver. "They're in the crosswalk." "It's paint," he said. "Not law." "It's a line," she said. "That's enough." He revved again, but something in the sound felt smaller. Cameras do that to people. So do eyes that don't look away. Rosa did something no one expected. She lifted her palm and laid it, gentle and firm, on the center of the hood. Not a slap. Not a strike. A touch, the kind you use to calm a skittish horse. Her other hand stayed on Elias's sleeve. "Quiet," she said, not to the boy or the engine, but to the night. For a heartbeat, the world obeyed. The kid's grin faltered. The car idled, breath held. Across the lot, a chorus of tiny red lights kept blinking, each one a promise. "We see you." Elias looked at us and then at the boy. "We're crossing to the diner," he said. "We do it every Friday." The kid's jaw worked. Then Friday just got faster. He snapped the shifter into reverse. And the siren that had died down flared alive, bouncing blue off chrome and glass as a cruiser nosed into the lot. Blue washed over chrome and glass as the cruiser slid in, but the lights only painted what was already carved into the street. Elias and Rosa stood in that glow like they'd stood there 100 times, because they had. Every Friday, same walk, same stop at the diner, same careful crossing between the handicap stripes. Not superstition. Practice. Rosa's palm stayed pressed to the hood, warm against the cold brag of the car. The paper bag at her elbow wasn't takeout. It was a foil pan wrapped in a dish towel, lemon bars she baked for the shelter on 3rd. The towel had tiny embroidered shoes on the corners, one frayed thread like a loose note in a song. Elias adjusted his grip on the cane. His hands knew rhythm. Once upon a time, those fingers measured out foxtrots in a gym that smelled of varnish and chalk. He and Rosa had taught 3 decades of kids to find the beat without stepping on each other. On the bulletin board in their kitchen, a photo still curled at the corners. A girl with wind-wild hair standing in this very crosswalk, 2 cones behind her, grinning as if the street belonged to kindness. Anna. 10 years ago, a midnight racer claimed the lane like a crown and never lifted. The cones looked like toys under his headlights. The city's report called it speed-related. Elias called it the moment the world misplaced its brakes. Since then he and Rosa had written letters, knocked doors, sat through meetings where men with gel pens said words like feasibility and traffic flow and budget cycle. They brought cookies to hearings so people would stick around. They collected signatures, 312, and taped Anna's photo to the top of the clipboard so officials would have to look at something human when they said no. The clipboard was in Rosa's bag tonight, under the lemon bars. "Back it up," Jax repeated, voice a metronome. The boy in the red coupe smirked at the camera light on his dash. "You going to arrest me for idling pretty?" The cruiser door opened. A deputy stepped out, sleeves crisp, jaw set by years of calls that sounded stupid until they weren't. His eyes swept. The hood, the hand, the cane, the line of bikers, the phone lenses blooming like small moons. He put a hand up, palm broad and calm. "Everyone stay put." Inside the diner, the manager whispered to the waitress, "That's Larkin, the one who stopped traffic for the parade." The teenager at the counter added, "He writes tickets like sonnets." Hope rustled, thin but present. Larkin came to the hood. "Ma'am," he said to Rosa, "you okay?" "We're crossing," she answered. "He's teaching us urgency." Larkin looked at the boy. "License, please." The kid rolled the window down another inch and offered a smile instead. "I'm not moving. We're vibing." "License," Larkin said again. The kind of repetition that counts as a line. The kid reached slow, theatrical, like he was on camera, which he was. As his wallet came up, another engine sound threaded the block. Not the grumble of our bikes, not the idle of the cruiser. A deeper, expensive purr, turning off main and sliding into the mouth of the lot like a shark meeting the shallows. A matte black SUV. Windows smoked. Parking sensors chirped once, polite and pointless. The red coupe's driver glanced at the reflection in his side mirror and sat up straighter, cocky replaced by something tighter. He killed his live stream without meaning to. The SUV took the space behind the cruiser as if it had been reserved by reputation. The passenger door opened before the engine fully stilled. A man stepped out in a suit that screamed boardroom more than block party, tie slightly loosened in a way that said it never really was. His expression wasn't outrage, it was calculation. He took in the hood, the hand, the cane, the lights, the lenses, and the boy in the driver's seat whose jaw looked too much like his own. "Evan," he said, voice low and dangerous with familiarity. "What did you do?" Rosa didn't move her hand. Elias didn't move his cane. The street held a breath it had been holding for 10 years. Larkin didn't look away from the license. "Sir," he said without turning, "step back to the curb." The man in the suit ignored him and took one more step toward the hood, toward the touch, the line, the memory written in paint. And the cameras all at once leaned in. The man in the suit, Evan's father, stopped at the edge of the hood and saw what everybody else already had. Rosa's palm, steady as a lighthouse, Elias's cane, studding the asphalt like a stake, 40 bikers set as a low wall, and his son, stock still in a car that suddenly looked like a child's loud idea. "License," Deputy Larkin repeated, not to the father, to the boy. Evan slid a card out at last. Larkin glanced, eyebrows ticking. "You're already on a 90-day probation for excessive speed." The father's tone sharpened. "Officer, this is a misunderstanding. My son didn't touch." "He didn't have to," the nurse in scrubs said, stepping forward. "Fear is contact." Phones nodded in a small electronic chorus. The father clocked the lenses and adjusted. "We'll handle liability. Son, neutral, park, hazards." His voice carried the boardroom trick of sounding like law. Evan's fingers hovered over the shifter and froze, caught between performance and obedience. Rosa spoke first. "Young man," she said, as if starting a lesson, "put the car in park." Click. Red triangles blinked to life in the taillights. The engine dropped to an embarrassed purr. Larkin took the license back to the cruiser, radio crackling with the dispatcher's patient code. Jax eased one step closer to the bumper. Not a threat, just a boundary you could see. The father turned to Rosa and Elias, trying for charm he hadn't earned. I'm sorry if this frightened you. Evan is spirited. He let the word hang, an upscale synonym for careless. We can sort this without an audience. Rosa's hand didn't move. We chose one. The father's smile thinned. Look, this lot is chaotic. My insurance. Not about money, Elias said. His voice was the quiet that makes people lean in. It's about a brake that never got installed. Something in the word brake pulled the thread Larkin had already found. He returned from the cruiser with a printout flapping in the blue light. Mr. Hale, he told the father, your son's been warned twice on this block. One complaint lists revving near pedestrians. He looked at Evan. Were you recording? Evan glanced at his dash. The red dot was gone. He swallowed. It was alive. The teen at the counter raised his phone. I screen recorded, he said, voice shaking. He hit play. On his screen, the lot replayed itself, a tighter angle, the hood lurching, Rosa's hand, the grin. A chat scrolled ugly and fast, all emojis and dares. A comment stuck like a burr. Floor it. The father flinched. A hairline crack in the boardroom glass. He reached for the phone. The kid stepped back and held it higher. Rosa's palm finally lifted from the hood. She slid the foil pan free, set it on the coupe's headlight like a small altar, and unwrapped one corner. The scent of lemon rose above hot metal and nerves. For the shelter, she said to nobody and everybody. We promised. She looked at the father. We lost our daughter in this crosswalk, she said. No drama. No tremor. Just a stone laid where everyone could see it. A racer didn't lift. We asked the city for a light. They asked us for patience. Evan went pale. The father's shoulders fell an inch. The lot exhaled a sound that wasn't quite a gasp. Larkin's pen stilled. Mr. Hale, he said slowly, you're on the chamber board, correct? The traffic committee? The father drew a breath, eyes going distant to a meeting table he'd skipped when the agenda read pedestrian calming. Yes. From the back of the diner, the manager emerged with a clipboard. The top page was a petition, edges dog-eared, a photo taped at the corner. A girl with wind-wild hair, Anna, grinning at the same stripes beneath their feet. Signatures crowded the margins. They've brought this every Friday, he said. We stack it by the register when officials come in. The father reached like a man who knows paper, but not weight. He read 3 names and couldn't read anymore. Evan, he said, softer than he'd been all night, turn the car off. The engine died. The night grew a shade larger. A low chorus of bikes rumbled to a hush, like a church settling. Jax broke the silence. We don't swing, he said, eyes on the father. We stand. But something changes here tonight, or we'll be back every Friday until the paint means what it's supposed to. Evan's jaw trembled. He looked at Rosa, at the pan of lemon bars, at the taped photo. The Livestream bravado was gone. What stood under the parking lights was a kid hearing the world in a different key. The father folded the petition once, twice, a reflexive tidiness that couldn't tidy anything. He slipped it under his arm like a dossier he'd been sent to fix and finally faced the only authority that mattered. The line on the asphalt and the people standing on it. What do you need? He asked. Not a lawyer's question. A neighbor's. Rosa answered without pause. A light that stops cars. Bollards that keep noses back. A memorial that says her name. And a class at your dealership, defensive driving for the kids who think horsepower is courage. Elias added, and an apology that doesn't sound like a press release. The father nodded once, an honest, heavy nod, and turned to his son. Keys, he said. Evan stared. Dad, keys. Evan's hand shook as he placed the fob in his father's palm. Larkin watched, pen ready, as the father lifted the fob where every lens could see it, and then, to everyone's surprise, set it gently beside the pan of lemon bars on the headlight, like an offering. Tonight, he said, voice carrying under the neon, we start by stopping. And from the mouth of the lot, more headlights appeared, not cruisers, not bikes. A city truck with cones, a portable signboard glowing amber, and a crew in reflective vests who hadn't planned to be here until morning. The city truck rolled, in like an apology with headlights. Cones rattled, a portable signboard blinked slow. Pedestrians, and 2 workers in reflective vests hopped down with the energy of people who know they're late, but came anyway. One recognized Rosa and tipped his hard hat. Ma'am, we got the call. From who? Larkin asked. The foreman pointed at the matte black SUV. From someone who said tonight, not Tuesday. Mr. Hale, no longer just a suit, not yet a neighbor, was on his phone, voice low and sober. I don't care if procurement groans, he said. Authorize temporary bollards and a rental lamp. Full light order submitted before sunrise. He ended the call and looked at Rosa and Elias. I chaired the meeting that punted this last year, he said quietly. I didn't follow up. That's on me. Evan stood beside the car, hands empty without the fob. His live stream was a black mirror now, reflecting his face instead of his audience. He swallowed. The word caught, then found a lane. I'm sorry. Not the kind you post. The kind you work. Rosa considered him a long beat. Then work looks like showing up when nobody's tapping hearts. She nodded to the foreman. They'll need hands. Evan took a cone from the truck bed and carried it like something fragile. The foreman pointed, and the kid jogged to place it at the nose of his own car. The crowd didn't clap. The sound was better. Cones thumping onto asphalt, zip ties cinching, the portable signboard humming to life. Bikers fanned out, not to command, but to lend weight where the line was being redrawn. Inside the diner, the manager fetched a rolled petition from under the register and smoothed it on the counter. Jack slid a marker across. Add another line, he said to Mr. Hale, under light and bollards. A scholarship. Call it the Anna Fund, defensive driving, first year paid in this zip code. Your dealership sponsors. We match from the community. Hale didn't flinch. He wrote it down in thick letters, then pulled out his wallet and peeled off a check with the speed of a man who knew how to make numbers move. He signed, turned, and placed it on the hood, beside the lemon bars and the fob. First deposit, he said. Public, not private. Audited monthly. You'll have the books. Larkin's radio crackled. Alvarez's voice came through. Need me there? We're good, he said, eyes on the cones taking shape. Bring caution tape and a receipt book. He slid his pen back into his pocket. We're writing a different kind of ticket. The nurse in scrubs passed out bottled water. A teenager handed zip ties like confetti. Rosa unwrapped the lemon bars fully and offered one to Evan. He stared at the powdered sugar dusting his fingers. My sister used to bake, he said, unexpected and small. I forgot how kitchens smell when someone's trying to make the world sweeter. Then remember, Rosa said. A delivery van idled at the curb, driver watching, index finger hovering over the horn that would have rushed a crossing any other night. He lowered his hand and waited, something like relief on his face, as if the rules had finally become visible enough to lean on. The portable lamp flicked and stuttered, then flooded the crosswalk with a clean, steady white. It made the stripes look new. It made the paint look like a promise kept. Jax walked to the head of the crosswalk and stood, palms out, not blocking traffic, just framing the path. Let's do this right, he said. Elias slipped his arm through Rose's, lifted his cane, and stepped into the light. They crossed slowly, deliberately, under the lamp that hummed like a quiet oath. Cameras recorded, not for spectacle now, but for record. This happened, and we can do it again. Halfway across, Rosa stopped and turned to Evan. Come, she said. He hesitated, then jogged to join them, cheeks red, eyes wet in the lamp glow. He didn't lead or linger, he matched their pace. When they reached the far curb, the foreman tore a strip of caution tape with a showman's rip and tied it between two cones at the coupe's nose. The line was literal now. Mr. Hale cleared his throat. My son's license goes in a drawer, he said, voice carrying without a mic 6 months. He'll spend Saturdays at the shelter and weekdays at the Anna Fund class when it opens. My dealership will host the first cohort and buy back illegal exhaust kits at cost. Proceeds to the scholarship. He glanced at Evan. You'll pack the boxes. Evan nodded, tears not hidden, and reached for the only job within arm's length, sweeping powdered sugar off the headlight where the lemon bars had kissed it. The kid at the counter caught the shot, a small, ridiculous grace, and lowered his phone, satisfied in a way views never gave him. Alvarez arrived with caution tape and a form pad. She looked around, took in the lamp, the cones, the strangers becoming less so. Looks like you didn't need a loud ending, she said. We needed a break, Elias answered. The nurse pointed to the portable signboard. Can they add a name? The foreman tapped keys on a plastic panel, frowned, tried again. The amber letters blinked, rearranged, and settled. Slow for Anna. Respect is a break. The lot went very quiet, then softly noisy. Sniffling laughter, shoulders releasing, someone starting and stopping applause until it wasn't about clapping at all. Rosa touched the sign with 2 fingers like a benediction. Now, she said to Mr. Hale, tomorrow you make the calls you avoided. Not because the cameras are on, because we'll still be here when they're off. He met her eyes without flinching. Tomorrow, he said, and the next tomorrow. Under the new light, the crosswalk looked less like paint and more like a story people had decided to believe. And for the first time in 10 years, the street felt like it remembered the difference between loud and right. By morning, the temporary lamp washed the crosswalk like a fresh page. Traffic slowed without being told why, only that something here mattered. The portable signboard kept pulsing slow for ANA. Respect is a break, and the cones stood like small orange promises that the city had finally learned to speak in nouns, not maybe. Inside Harper's, the day crew taped a new flyer by the register. ANA Fund, Defensive Driving Scholarships, Local Teens First. Below it, Mr. Hale's check was photocopied with the account number blacked out, a monthly audit date circled in red. Accountability had a calendar now. Evan arrived early, no fob, sleeves rolled, a broom on his shoulder. He asked the foreman where to start and did, without narrating it. When the shelter van pulled up for pantry boxes, he lifted without flexing, looked Rosa in the eye, and asked whether the lemon bars needed extra foil for the ride. They do, she said, smiling the kind of smile that forgives a little and remembers a lot. At noon, the dealership sent 2 techs with bolt-down bases. By dusk, the cones became temporary bollards, anchored in pairs with reflective bands. Alvarez signed the receipt on the hood, handed a carbon copy to Elias like it was a certificate of something sturdier than gear. Larkin dropped a folded citation into a mailbox slot. Evan's speeding probation extended with conditions he could meet. Saturdays at the shelter, 10 sessions with the first Honor Fund class, and 2 school talks where he'd say the sentence he'd learned the hard way. Power is not permission. We formed up at twilight for a short ride that would pass the crosswalk and end at the shelter. 40 bikes idled soft, nobody popped a throttle. At the head of the line, Jax lifted his hand, and we rolled like we were escorting quiet itself. Evan walked beside Rosa and Elias. When they reached the stripes, he stopped and pressed his palm, gently, to the new post where a permanent light would go. Not a stunt. A vow. The unexpected wasn't the check, or the lamp, or even the scholarship. It happened when Rosa reached into her bag and pulled out the clipboard she'd carried for a decade. She turned to Mr. Hale, then to Alvarez, then to us, and slid the petition's top page free. Anna smiled up from the tape, wind-wild in here. We don't need this copy anymore, Rosa said. She folded it once, twice, like a letter that had finally been answered, and tucked it into Elias's jacket. But we'll keep it close. We parked at the shelter. Kids waved from the steps. Evan stacked boxes until his breath came in honest clouds. Mr. Hale stood beside him, not behind, and listened to a counselor list what long-term actually meant. Monthly, he said. Not seasonal. The counselor nodded. The town had discovered a new gear. Later, beneath the lamp, the crosswalk looked less like paint and more like a stage where a small, ordinary courage had learned its lines. Rosa traced one stripe with her toe and whispered something that might have been a prayer or a recipe. With her it was often both. Jax turned to the camera one last time, not for views but for record. If you're watching from a place where the lines just paint, he said, start small. A cone, a call, a class, a name on a sign. Power isn't permission, but presence is protection. Elias set his cane, looked down the street, and nodded as if the road had finally kept time with his step. Respect, he said, is the break we install together. If you'd been there, between the hood and the stripes, between loud and right, what would you have done? Tell it, then go tighten one bolt in your own town. The street learns its words from us.